Well, good morning, everybody. It's me, Mitch, and welcome to Morning Coffee with Mitch. It's Friday, end of August, August 31st. Wow, hard to believe. Tomorrow will be September already. It can't be morning coffee without some coffee, so drink it if you got it. And today, and I don't do it every morning, but every once in a while, and since this is a holiday weekend, Labor Day, and I really don't have any plans to celebrate. Why don't I celebrate and puff on a cigar and see how many of you I can trigger? And once I get this thing lit, I'm going to take a minute or two to talk about some of the responses I get from you guys about my sometimes morning cigar. I think Monday morning was the last time I actually smoked a cigar early in the morning. So will you excuse me while I light my cigar? There we go. Perfect. Perfect. It is officially about 5 minutes after sunrise. It's early this morning. I don't see the sun up there over the clouds yet, but that's okay. We're supposed to have a little rain this morning. Weather forecast here said rainy today, but looks pretty nice. Looks like this every morning, it seems. Some would say that was boring. So let me take a minute to address the cigar smoking yet again. I don't get too many comments, but now that I'm reading the comments again, and I am reading the comments again, and I hope you all noticed that you're getting hearts all over the place. I've caught up back to about the past 8 days of comments, and I got to tell you what, I don't think I'm ever going to let it go that long again. I've still got about another week or two of comments that I have, maybe 10 days of comments before that. I got a comment yesterday that was very nice and very thoughtful, and somebody wishing me the best and basically warning me. And this is the way the comment read: if you get esophageal cancer, you will have a very hard time eating meat. Okay. If you get in a car accident and break both your arms, you will have a very hard time eating meat. I don't know anybody that's ever had esophageal cancer from puffing on a cigar. I know that people that inhale tobacco smoke might, if they're in bad shape and prone to cancer and metabolically ill and all the other things, might have a minuscule, tiny, slight risk of it, but you don't see it. I mean, the risk of that is almost non-existent. And life is full of risks. Sometimes to get a little pleasure, you have to have a life. Do you think more people that ski down a mountainside do permanent lifetime damage to themselves than get esophageal cancer from smoking cigars? Okay, I've compared those two risks, and I've decided to smoke the cigars rather than ski down mountainsides at 80 miles an hour. I figure I stand a better chance. How about riding motorcycles? I gave up motorcycles because I deemed them too risky anymore to ride in this environment. Certainly, a lot more people are getting injured riding motorcycles, permanently disabling themselves, than getting esophageal cancer. In fact, I went to look up the statistics. I couldn't really find anything real because nobody's ever even looked at how many cigar smokers who don't inhale, who are metabolically healthy, get esophageal cancer. So while I really appreciate the well wishes and your burning concern for my health, please don't disguise the fact that you don't like cigar smoking with some well-wishing sounding comment disapproving of this. Please, please, I honor your choices. You take the risks you want. Allow me to take the risks that I want. Admit it. You don't really care if I get cancer or not. You just see an opening to be judgmental. Good for you. Good job. Good job. You're smart. You seized the opportunity. All right, enough of that. What am I going to talk about today? If I say I'm going to talk about addiction, you'll probably all go away because you've heard it before, but you haven't heard this before. You haven't heard this before. Up on my YouTube feed yesterday popped a movie from 2016. It was called The Big Lie, American Addict 2. I saw the word addict in the title of a movie. Had a lot of views. I said, well, let me watch this. It might be interesting. I don't know what they're talking about, but there was some hint that it was about opioid drug addiction, especially prescription drug addiction. And I watched that movie from 8 years ago from a perspective of just learning something I might have not known about addiction. Now, we all know that the pharmaceutical companies really don't care about our health. They care about making money. We know that. But after watching this movie and seeing just exactly what the pharmaceutical companies were responsible for in the proliferation of all of these different opioid pain medicines, constantly coming up with stronger and stronger ones and using their influence and lobbyists and corruption to make sure that the FDA was paid well enough to approve any and everything that they put out, made me view these people not as just corrupt businessmen, because I expect that, but as downright criminals who belong in jail, as well as all of their cohorts at the head of all these agencies of our government. It's disgusting. What were my takeaways from this movie? Well, it was educational, it was interesting, and it was 8 years ago. So you'd think if a movie like this came out 8 years ago, that everybody would have gotten the word and everything would be fixed now. Yay! Celebrate! Somebody made a movie exposing everything. They had senators in this movie. They had Ron Paul in this movie. They had eminent doctors and psychologists in this, and psychiatrists in this movie, talking about the psychotropic drugs, the damage, the connections to all the school shooters, these sick kids. How many of our kids are being absolutely ruined, permanently damaged for life by these drugs they throw at them? Telling about the fact that 50% of our children are now on some kind of psychotropic drug for their ADHD. How these drugs suppress all natural human functions and behavior. Rewire the brains of these kids. It is shocking and eye-opening. And then they take it forward into adults that are trying to get off of these drugs, who just have their lives ruined. They're taking 8, 10 different kinds of illegal drugs, which are getting so expensive that they have to turn to heroin because it's cheaper. But this movie came out 8 years ago. So surely by now, after 8 years of having all this exposed in a movie, you'd think that the problem would be gone. You'd think that children wouldn't be taking Ritalin anymore. You'd think that we'd have cleaned up all the drug dealers. And I'm not talking about the stuff that's imported. I'm not talking about the illegal drugs that come in like cocaine, heroin, and that. A statistic was pointed out in this movie that said that if you added up all of the use of all of the illegal substances, they wouldn't even scratch the surface of how much illicit use there is of prescription drugs manufactured by our pharmaceutical companies. Our pharmaceutical companies are causing more damage than every cartel in the world importing illegal drugs. Playing on our addictions. And you know that I profess that a carb addiction is even stronger than all the drug addictions. So you add on top. So I'm watching this movie, and one thing I noticed in this movie is in these places, and this is in 2016, in these places where the rehab center, evidently it was this doctor who runs a particular prescription drug rehab program, who produced this movie, much like Curry Mann is making his movie Healing Humanity. And one of the things they pointed out in this movie is they talked about these messages are not allowed to be repeated or take hold, because all of these corrupt people, all of these huge companies control everything. They control the mainstream media. And it's just unbelievable to me that most people sitting hypnotized in front of the morning TV, watch the morning news, just believe everything they hear. And the stuff they hear tells them that red meat causes diabetes. Just as a side note, this particular doctor filming his treatment of a particular patient, I noticed that the medical professionals that worked in his office were basically sick, unhealthy, and extremely overweight. I noticed that so many of the psychiatrists and speakers, experts, doctors, PhDs that talked in this film were obviously extremely obese, unhealthy, and sick. Now, they may know a lot about their subject, about the psychotropic drugs, about the real root of the problem and the damage it's doing, but they're still killing themselves because they're addicts. They're sugar addicts and they don't know it. How smart are they? I say to myself. Wake up, I'm screaming at the screen. Stop eating the sugar. Look what you're doing to yourself. Your hips are as wide as your car, for God's sakes. The problem, my friends, and I keep saying it, is we are, as the title of this movie said, a nation of addicts. And yet, in spite of all the movies, of all the exposés, of all the studies that support what I say, of all of this, we cannot overcome, and I don't think we ever will, we cannot overcome the inherent greed and corruption of the human animal, the quest for power, to seek out positions of control in any agency or organization where they can censor the message of things like this movie, propagate, that's why they call it propaganda, because it propagates whatever narrative you want. Continually propagate the narrative that meat is bad, plants are good, see your doctor, take those prescriptions, keep oiling up the machine that generates enormous money for a very few, puts them in power, bankrupts the rest of us, makes us sick, and kills us. And if people would take their attention away from the frigging football games for 5 minutes and start looking at stuff like this, maybe we could actually chip away a little bit at part of the problem. But that doesn't happen. I know that doesn't happen because maybe 2,000 people might click on my video. Of those 2,000 people, maybe a few hundred may actually watch it to the end. So the best I can do is reach a few hundred people, continue to march here, continue to put this message out, and just be happy that I hear from those of you who are helped by this. That makes me feel good. Change the world. Every time I see these movies, especially the ones from 8 years ago, I say, this was 8 years old. How come the problem continues to get worse, not better? How come the drug companies continue at an accelerating rate to keep putting out new and more dangerous drugs that they can market at higher and higher prices? And the politicians, I hate to say it, I won't tell you who they demonized, but you need to watch this movie to see just exactly what one of our past presidents has done to us and coined it off as beneficial. And here we are today. And here you are. And the answer, that is, I think, the most realistic way to solve most of these problems is to eat meat. Eat meat. Get off of these prescription drugs. Now, you may need your doctor's care because so many of these drugs make so many changes in you, you have to wean off of them. Some of them take years, and you really never, ever get over them. I'm afraid that's what Ozempic is doing to people by altering their digestive tract. But I can't stop people from taking it. It's a magic pill. We are killing ourselves buying into this stuff, and it is maddening and sad and sad. That's enough. I'm going to put a link to this movie, if you're interested, down in the description of the video. It's pretty well done. It'll shock you. They're talking about prescription drug abuse. So while you're watching this movie, keep in the front of your mind that everything they say about prescription drug abuse, everything they say probably goes triple for what the food companies do to us on a regular basis, with the drug companies hot on their tail, finding new and wonderful medicines to cure all those problems. What a partnership that is. It's very understandable why these companies are some of the most powerful next to the defense contractors in our country and have the strongest, largest lobbying effort in Washington. So that's it for this morning. Tomorrow, Sunday, I'll probably do this. This is easy. I enjoy doing this. So many of you have told me that you like it. You never know what the subject's going to be. I never know what the subject's going to be. I hit record on the camera and just start talking. Whatever comes out, comes out. It's kind of just like a morning commentary. Hopefully it'll be relevant in some manner or other to the battle we face to fix our health, get off these drugs, live a nice pain-free life. Hope some of this stuff is entertaining, and I hope it's valuable to you. So with that, I want to make sure I remind you that today, Saturday, August 31st, at 3 p.m., I have a live stream. 2 hours of unscripted me. And if that didn't scare you away, I hope to see you there. If I don't see you there, have a healthy, safe, and I hope fun holiday weekend. Because it's a holiday, of course, take the rest of the day off and eat meat.